everyone. Welcome to the Inclusive Insights, the show for leaders by leaders, with valuable insights and tips to supercharge your leadership. I'm your host, Neetu Razda, and today we have an exciting topic to explore: upsides for job seekers, leveraging referrals in the job search. Job seeking can be challenging and overwhelming process for many individuals. Today, we'll discuss how job seekers can take advantage of referrals and their network to access hidden job opportunities. Joining us today is Derek Koch of new company, theseekers. Derek is an expert in talent acquisition and HR technology. Welcome, Derek.
Thanks, Neetu. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share insights with our audience today, especially job seekers.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Let's start by looking at the current state of job seeking for an average person. What challenges do job seekers commonly face?
Yeah, it's a great question. Job seeking can be a very daunting task, especially with the sheer volume of candidates that typically apply for a position and then compete for attention. In our work, theseeker does a great deal of work with job seekers and with talent acquisition teams. And what we find is that the average posting receives anywhere from 250 to over 1,000 applicants.
Wow.
So you can imagine, if you're the talent acquisition person on the other end of the application button, you're really getting a lot of volume. It's almost like a fire hose coming at you. So when you ask about the challenges, that high level of competition around that individual job description, that posting, that's the primary challenge. There's so much competition that you can really look to that to explain why job seekers often feel that the traditional job application process is just kind of like throwing your resume into an abyss or a black hole. It feels like you throw it in and nothing comes back. And the reason for that is that there are two related effects of the way job search technology works right now. The first one is because of that high level of competition it promotes, it's very difficult to stand out for job seekers. And they often have trouble because they don't really know the must-have requirements for the job. And the second is that they can't really get any feedback. And that's in large part due to just the sheer volume of candidates. It's not possible for talent acquisition teams, in most cases, to give each of the 1,000 applicants that don't get the job or don't make it through the process any kind of meaningful feedback. So it's at best usually a form email. So you can see why there are so many stories on the internet right now about job seekers who apply for hundreds of jobs and they don't even get asked to a phone screen as a result of all that work. That can really be demoralizing.
Absolutely. That's so true. And I'm sure it's so frustrating for people who are just looking for another opportunity or actually a job. So how has talent acquisition and HR technology evolved to address these challenges? And what role does, that play in the job search?
Well, this is a great question. I love this question because if you think back, even just five years or so, the amount of technology that's used in the job search process and in processing applicants and finding that right person for the job has really mushroomed. There are a lot of job boards that serve as the front end to the company job applicant funnel. And then there are applicant tracking systems, otherwise known as ATS tracking systems, that often use AI-powered tools to streamline candidate screening, so that the emergence of a lot of these tools has really affected the job search process. Now, there's a little bit of a funny effect because the tools have made the process efficient in many ways for both the job seeker and for employers, but because of the work that they've done, they've also created a new challenge. And so what I mean by that is, when you look at the job search process, when you look at recruiting in a high growth company, a corporation, you're going to find a very efficient process in many cases, one that is very streamlined with technology. We can take 1,000 applicants and process them and get them to the right people so we can begin the interviewing process. But the problem is it's become so easy to apply that now our problem is just the sheer volume and noise that it creates. So a good way to think about this is to look at job boards like LinkedIn and Glassdoor and the way they've transformed the job seeking process. They've made it very easy for people to apply. But now the ATS has to develop, the applicant tracking system has to develop new filters to aid the talent acquisition teams to filter out candidates. And there are other new trends that I think we'll talk about later that are actually making it easier for people to get around those filters. And so again, we just have a lot of candidates to deal with. And it, at the end of the day, creates a problem really for job seekers because they're not really the customers of the process. The job board model and the ATS model is very much focused on the corporate customer. They're the ones who pay the bill. So again, volume is what succeeds in their business model. They sell advertising and subscriptions, and quantity is much more important in that model than quality and the human part of the user experience. So whereas again, there's a lot of talk on the internet about how to use new tools to get around job filters. Filters in the ATS systems. At The Seeker, we really focus on accelerating the job search by connecting people through a better experience. And that's just really not where technology is developed. It's solved some problems, but now new ones exist. And that's why we're around.
Awesome. Oh my God. When you talk about technology, I mean, one thing that comes to mind, which is pretty much the talk of the town, is AI. And I'm sure there's a lot of innovation in job seeking or recruiting industry. So should we talk a little bit about, how AI is making, its advances in the recruiting industry, and how actually is it making the job easier or is it like making it harder right now?
It's a great question. I think you set it up perfectly. It's unclear. But one thing we do know is that in the short term, for job seekers, a lot of the focus on using AI has been through tools like ChatGPT, where I can very easily write a cover letter, where I can very easily take a job description and customize my cover letter to match the keywords that are in the cover letter, in the job description. And that, in many cases is how candidates are filtered. We're looking for keywords in their cover letter and in their resume, and we're saying this looks like a candidate you want to look at. So this does create a problem in the short term, in that, again, it means more people can get around the filters, which doesn't necessarily help the job seeker, and it probably doesn't help the company either, because they're trying to curate a set of candidates that are highly qualified, based on something real, not based on kind of keyword searching and hacking. So I think AI has a lot of potential to make the job search better, but in the short term, the obvious problem is just that it's putting more attention to the application process. And what we see is that about 80% of jobs are filled based on referrals, not based on the job application process exclusively. So the more time we spend trying to hack the system, we're really not addressing the true way that jobs are found through referrals. And in fact, it goes even deeper than that. About 70% of jobs aren't even posted. So, the part of your search as a job seeker where you go after those nascent opportunities that someone might not even know about yet, they haven't been posted, but you happen to talk to the hiring manager and you're a perfect fit. Those are the kinds of opportunities that a job application just can't get you. And so, again, AI probably has lots of ways it can be beneficial, but the way it's being applied by job seekers right now is really going after that high volume, low probability part of your search, which is the application using LinkedIn or using Glassdoor. I'll tell you just a quick story that we heard from our community. So there was a conversation between a person in our community and someone who was hiring a user researcher, but they hadn't written the job description yet and they hadn't posted it. And in fact, the conversation these two people were having, the hiring manager and our community member, wasn't even about a job. It was about a user research session that this person was conducting with our community member. And at the end of the session, our community member said, "Hey, I'm just curious. I know some really great user research folks. Do you happen to have any jobs that you're trying to hire for?" And this person, the hiring manager on the call, said, "Actually, I'm writing a job description right now. Could you connect me with those people?" So that's a kind of an example of, that's a job that you might have a great shot at winning, but you're not going to see it if you're only applying for jobs through job boards. You have to get out there and network.
Yeah, wow, that's a great story. And I mean, I can tell from my experience, working in corporate or even running startups, that majority of the times we do pick, candidates that are coming in through referrals or have a great reference. So job board is probably kind of to get you into the pipeline, but there is no guarantee that it can get you through the pipeline to the ultimate goal. But yeah, that's great. I love that story. So I think what we're going to talk about now is, some of the best practices that job seekers can adopt. I think I want to kind of touch on two major things. Why do you think that referrals actually can get someone a job? What is different, with referrals versus a job board? I think the human touch, or the backing is something we should talk about. And then what are the best practices to adopt to accelerate the search, leveraging referrals?
Yeah, it's a question I love to talk about, because of our beliefs about why people are hired and what happens there. And it's funny, you and I are both entrepreneurs. We think in terms of lean startup and thinking about unmet needs in the market and how to distill those and build products. And at the end of the day, I've heard from several people who kind of mentor me and give me some great thinking about talent acquisition and HR. They've said, the process of finding a job and presenting yourself to a hiring manager is really similar to being an entrepreneur, because when you get hired by someone, it's because they trust your ability to solve their problems. And so when you're presenting yourself as a candidate, you're really presenting yourself as a solution to the most important problems that this person has. Maybe you have many things that you can do to help the company, but the hiring manager has maybe 3 things in mind that are their must-haves. And those must-haves are connected to problems that they have in their work and in achieving what their company is asking them to do. So when I think about why referrals are so important, it's because a flat resume or even your LinkedIn profile has a lot of information, but does it really crisply indicate how you're a solution, how I, Derek, am a solution to you, Nitu's problems, and how am I going to get you where you want to go with the work that you're doing for the company? Referrals give you a chance to talk to that person, or at least, let's say, a hope that you can become more visible. You can learn more about the problems that hiring manager has, and you can position your experience in a very crisp and understandable way. And you can do so not on paper, but person to person, because the hiring manager is going to be working with you in the future. They're not just evaluating your AI and ML skills, or what kind of design you can achieve, but also how you're going to work with them and how you're going to partner with them, and you're kind of building that trust. That's something that's very hard to scale. So that's why we have ATS systems and job boards, because hiring managers would be overwhelmed if they talk to every single candidate. But I think that the fact still remains, if you can be very smart about how you find those conversations with hiring managers, you can have them. In fact, if you ask most of your friends, how did you get your last job? More likely than not, a good number of them are going to say, well, I had a connection, and the person it notified me about an opportunity with a mutual connection, and I talked to them, and yes, I made an application along the way, but in the end, it was that ability for me to convey what I as a person can do for that hiring manager. That's what got me the job. So that's, I think, why it's so important to really have a networking strategy. And you asked, secondly, I think, what are some tips? What are some best practices? At the end of the day, the first one, Neetu, is really simple. It's think about what your strategy is for getting referrals. Most people, I think, in the market right now are very highly focused. Job seekers are very highly focused on how can I submit a certain number of applications each day? And that's kind of a false metric, to be fair. You can apply for lots of jobs and get nowhere. If you have a networking strategy, you're not just going to connect with people who can hire you, you're also going to learn about what their problems are. So very simple things you can do are identify who do you know, who can you talk to, who could potentially introduce you to others, and how can I go about having a conversation with them that's very credible and authentic and communicates clearly what I can do and who I'm looking to talk to. Those are some of the most important things to do right at the beginning. The other thing I think that it's definitely a best practice is, just as you would with applications, most people set a goal for themselves. Set a goal for talking to people and networking with them in a authentic but also purpose-driven way, so that you can create these conversations with hiring managers. It takes some work. Most people are fearful of it, but when you get that strategy defined and you do that work, you're going to find that you make very quick progress versus applications. Actually, it's much more under your control to go and talk to people than it is to wait for someone to review your application.
Great points, Derek. I actually loved both the tips and, why referrals work. At the end of the day, when I look from outside in or inside out, it feels that, through referrals, there is some level of trust that is kind of pre-built. If I refer someone to you and I have a mutual kind of professional relationship, you'll always be like, oh, she's not going to refer someone who she doesn't feel is fit for the job. So that level of trust kind of goes a notch or two higher. And then the application process in turn becomes much, much smoother and, easier. And I think expedited too. I think these are great points. And I think everyone should kind of think about this seriously, because I have read posts on LinkedIn and otherwise where people have, posted publicly that they have applied for 500 jobs in a month and they have not heard a peep from anybody. And one, it broke my heart, but two, it's like, yeah, that's what I would expect. If you go and randomly just put, easy apply, that's not the way to find what fits you and what you are a great fit for from a company culture standpoint, or what you're going to learn in future, or how you're going to use your skill set. So great points. I'm kind of just thinking mile a minute right now. Awesome. And building a network is super important. Not everyone in the world is focused, particularly people who have started a particular job. They just go, it's like sometimes like a 10-hour week, or even if it's an 8-hour week, you're constantly kind of into this, hey, I want to keep my job, I want to do a good job, I want to get, ahead of everything. How and what should any job seeker or a candidate do to build a strong network without, what steps can they take to request referrals without feeling, hey, I am kind of being pushy, or I don't feel comfortable doing this? What should we do?
I love the fact that you're inside the mindset of the job seeker, because you just mentioned two things that really prevent people from moving forward in a networking strategy. They often think, well, networking is kind of pushy, or I'm not comfortable asking other people to do something for me, going with my hat in my hand to ask for charity. So I think one of the first things to think about is just other people do want to help you. So it's not really being pushy or charity, depending on the way you approach it. So the first thing I think that people need to think about is, how can I change my mindset? And so along those lines, one thing that can be very helpful is to be in a group of people that you feel is safe to experiment in. Sometimes this is friends or people you've worked with in the past that you can, have a session with and say, this is what I'm seeing. These are the feelings I'm having about networking my job search. What advice can you give me? That's very productive. But what we've found is that many people don't have that built-in community, or at least maybe they go and they speak to one friend every week, and the friend's going to get tired at some point and not be able to, help in all the ways you'd like. So cultivating this community is really strategic. It's a problem that often people struggle with figuring out how to solve. But we actually created a free community of on Slack of job seekers, where people can join, get to know other job seekers, be a support to them, and also receive support from them. And that can be really productive. I won't say that our community is the only one on the internet. I won't say it's the only way to get in touch with other job seekers, but our community is pretty engaged and intentional. And we really focus on the idea of how can we, start to build up practices that help us to build our network and to meet new people. And if we approach that in a credible and authentic way, those referrals will come. We don't have to be pushy about it, especially with job seekers who, know where we're coming from. So that community, I think, if anyone who watches the podcast is interested in joining, it's free, and we only ask that people only come if they're truly job seekers and they're looking to connect with others and support others. No ads, no sales permitted in the community. We really just want support and help to be what people access in that community.
That sounds wonderful. I think I'm personally kind of super stoked and excited about the seeker community, and I can wait to see what it can, bring forward to the job seeker community. ATS, job boards, we have done it, been there. AI, all of it. I think now it's the time to actually be human and kind of get that human connectivity into this area. And I think it's a very crucial where we are right now, where the world is economically or otherwise. I think it's going to be a great accelerator, great catalyst for a lot of job seekers. So we'll put the description and how to, access the seeker community. How do they join? Is it invitation only? Can they go on your website and then figure out how to join the Slack, or can they request, being part of that community?
These are great questions. We've gone through multiple iterations with a lot of feedback from community members, and every day we learn something more about how to make the experience more human, better, more effective. The way that folks can apply right now, it's very simple. You just basically jump onto a website, www.theseeker.ai/Slack-community, and this will be in the show notes, I'm sure. But when you go to that site, it's just going to give you a quick way to let us know you're interested and apply to be a part of the community. Just a few questions. And then as part of that process, we'll meet with you, because we do believe that live connection is part of the way this community works. That's built into our community. And so we'll onboard you in that call. We'll get you invited to Slack and help you with any questions. And then you'll be able to jump in and work with and talk to a bunch of really great people who, I have to say, are very community minded, whether it's getting some help reviewing your resume or your LinkedIn profile. doing a mock interview, or just getting, someone who's friendly, who will listen to your story about some frustrating thing that happened in your job search. All of that is at your fingertips once you join the community. So it's a very easy process, and we help you along the way.
Awesome. That sounds great. And we're going to put all the links, everything in the description. Derek, before we kind of start winding up, any final words of wisdom for our job seekers or for our audience?
Well, first I have to say this has been a wonderful opportunity, Neetu, and it's so fun to talk about these topics, because I feel like entrepreneurs like you and I are really creating a new way that this world of work is going to work. And so thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And secondly, words of wisdom, I guess, again, I'm going to come back to you. I think job seekers, my suggestion to them, my inspiration to them is networking can really open up some great opportunities. And if you just take little steps and little risks, you can really see great benefit. The reason I'm on this podcast today is I connected with you through networking, through, mutual friends. And, we've had some great conversations just like this one that really have inspired me and, helped me think about this work that we're doing at The Seeker. So I just really appreciate, connecting with you and all the things that it's brought to me. And so I guess I would use that little story as the inspiration for people. Take a chance, take a little step, and then keep taking little steps. You don't have to, try to get Elon Musk on the phone tomorrow. Take a small step. If you want to do something in your career that's beneficial, if you invest in your network every day in a little way, it will over the course of your career have a great ROI. So that's my little word of inspiration for everyone today.
Love it, love it, love it. And that story actually, yes, amazing. I mean, if we don't take that first step, and it's the hardest step. I've been there, you've been there. It's the hardest step. Take that first step, guys. And then slowly, it'll feel like, this was the norm all along. So just that first step is the hardest part, and just please take it. Wow, Derek, this was amazing. I learned so much about the Seeker, the Slack community, and all the innovation happening in recruiting. So thank you for sharing your expertise with us today. It's been an insightful conversation, and hopefully in future we will have many more as Seeker kind of evolves and grows and just becomes this big whole community for all of us. Awesome.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Neetu, and I hope we have a lot more conversations like this too. We'll plan on it.
Amazing. And there you have it, folks. Upside for job seekers, leveraging referrals in the job search. Remember, referrals can be your secret weapon in this competitive job market. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the Inclusive Insights and leave us a review. Join us next time for another exciting episode on the Inclusive Insights, the show for leaders by leaders. Thank you.